And good morning to you. It is a Thursday morning, and it is 8:35, and in the studio with me is Mr. Don Posh of indiGO, your allies for independence. And we're going to be talking about what is it that you have this extra little light here, and what is this about? Well, there's a term called seasonal affective disorder, and
Okay,
those of us that have been around for a long time remember cabin fever.
that's
Yeah,
what occurs in the winter when we lose our sunlight. It's kind of a light depression
yeah.
for people that aren't generally depressed. It's kind of like you lose that light and the days get shorter, and it kind of has this feeling of fatigue. I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
Oh, but like can't even figure out what you're going to have for lunch today.
well,
One of those.
a couple weeks ago, we had that one whole week of cloudy, and yes, we could blame it on the clouds because the next sunlight missing, but then with the shorter sunlight hours, it gets even better sooner because the cloud cover doesn't get as bright during the day, and I've noticed even in myself, just it's like, oh my goodness, another, oh, just grown at this stuff. And the minute the sunlight came back, I think it was last week, it was like party time. Let's go get out
Bet.
the sunscreen and go lay out in the grass, which we have grass to lay out in, not snow. But
Oh, oh, this has been like of course, a very unusual winter. We all
yeah,
know that. And really, without the snow, you don't get that bright that covers up all the darkness that's out
right,
there. I mean, it's it's been persistent since the end of October.
yeah,
And in October we used to get snow.
yeah,
So it's that looking out, it's been cloudy most of the time for months. It's not just a week of bad weather. It's kind of like month after month of gray and
sure,
dark, and
yeah,
that has a real effect on people, and especially all those people that love winter sports. Think about it, uh, we worry about something that maybe we're not involved in. Like even though I don't take part in the Border, I think about how it's going to affect my community. I think about what it's going to do to the business people if we don't have the turkey, all the volunteers, all the people that participate. And that even weighs on me a little bit because I care.
yeah.
I do care how it's going to affect their area.
Well,
And
there is a little depression in the business realm as well because the snowmobile trails are all been closed. No one's coming up to the snowmobiles anymore. There's some ATV trails that are open, but you can't get across the lake. They pulled all the stakes up, and there's sort of this depression that came over that, sports community. Well, gee, we can't do this. A lot of cancellations for motel rooms or Airbnb, and
absolutely.
then the restaurants and establishments that are along these trails just lost all of that business that they had. They're really hurting.
And you think that makes them a little more edgy?
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's like that. This was going to be their financial bump
right.
that they get midwinter. It's like, oh, we're going to this going on, and then the people just think after all that snow we had last year, somebody might have taken their first snowmobile ride and bought one.
Yeah, right.
And it's sitting there
Brand
high and
new.
dry, you know. So
That could be depressing.
that
Yeah,
could be well, they're not cheap.
yeah,
They're an expensive piece of equipment.
yeah.
So yeah, it's more far reaching this year than it's been.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do is being on those cloudy days, I put all the lights on in the office. I have a home office and I replaced all the bulbs with LED daylight bulbs. And
Okay.
I make it bright because I want to feel like I don't want that dull feeling. And it does seem to help that way. And there is a light box, which a light box is mimics the sun.
Yeah.
and it's supposed to give you those, I don't know if it's supposed to everyone, but some of the people that it does work for, they seem to report that, hey, this is making it a little bit better, a little bit more tolerable. So you use it for, different light boxes, different manufacturers. There's different recommendations as far as how long you use it. It's something you do in the morning. Generally, it's recommended to use it like right away in the morning to mimic that sunlight that you should have when you're starting your job or
Yeah.
getting your day started. A friend of mine said that he likes to put his on as the sun's going down to fake himself into thinking there's an extra hour of
Oh, yeah.
daylight at the end of the
Right.
day.
And these devices look pretty simple. You have a tabletop device here that, again, is just a box light, and it's putting out, I'm assuming, the equality of daylight, which is 57 Kelvin temperature. Now, this is getting technical, and I'm a technical person, so I look at these lights and I'm thinking, what is it about this light that makes it so special? Because I'm thinking all it is probably a daylight bulb inside of a box with a diffuser on it. And is that the same thing? Now, I like the old fashioned, they used to call them tungsten bulbs, the household bulbs that have a warmer feel to them. Now, on a technical term, those bulbs operate at 32 Kelvin degrees, which is a warmer band of light. We
Is
talk
that what they
about
considered
lighting.
soft white?
Yes,
Okay.
like in this lamp here,
It's
or even
almost
the
like a
halogen.
yellowish
It's a
type
more
tint.
warmer tinge to it. Yeah, with daylight at 56 or 57 Kelvin temperature, the light spectrum is a more blue light.
Right.
And I got accustomed, I grew up in businesses in the 90s and the early 2000s where fluorescent was so popular. Now, fluorescent on the light scale is more of a 45 Kelvin, which is a green, and it's irritating. And the way fluorescent lights work was very irritating. So a lot of people may equate the Kelvin temperature of 47 to a cool light at 56 or 57 Kelvin. And they may see that as similar because 32K bulbs definitely have a different color to them to the naked eye. We can see them
Oh yeah.
because the
Yeah.
scale is just so different. But again, that's a very, very technical looking at it. But again, I used to work in video production, so video cameras would see an indoor light as very, very yellow and outdoor light is very, very blue. If you didn't have your light balance set properly in the camera, you would look at a totally orange room because it was set to outdoor lighting, or if you had a camera set for indoor lighting and you brought it outside, that would be very, very blue. We don't realize that
Right.
in our daily, when we go from one lighting sequence to another. I'm very sensitive to it because I'm an engineer and I've done video production for 40 years. I'm always sensitive to what color temperature of light am I working with. And it's really hard if I have both types of light. I have sunlight coming in the windows and I'm trying to work with indoor light bulbs in the home. Um, yeah, so there's a very technical explanation of the color temperatures and how that can affect us. And like you said, these box lights are mimicking sunshine. And I believe it's because they're working off that 56K Kelvin temperature. But I don't think there's anything else more technical about but like you said, it mimics that sunshine and kind of, I don't know, do you call it a faking our minds that we've got
Maybe,
sunshine?
maybe.
It's a
The thing,
mimic.
the one thing that I recall, my wife was, for way back when they decided to put daylight bulbs to replace the fluorescents in the nursing homes
Yeah,
because it helped with the mood of the residents. So it does actually have some science behind it. If you're
yeah,
seeing the results, you got the cause and effect.
right.
So results are what matters. And one other thing that they have that's similar to this light box is they have a sunrise clock, and about a
Oh,
half hour before the time is set, it gets lighter and
great.
lighter, and then it hits
It's
its
getting those.
yeah, yeah, and these things aren't very expensive. They start about the light box starts at about $40,
Okay.
and I saw a sunrise clock for 30.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess if you're having that
Hold
kind
that
of
up for the audience who keep watching this on Facebook. Tell me what I got it in the right spot. Keep coming up a little more. There you go. There you can see it on camera. Yeah. I mean, it's just a box. It's a very light switch. And what is that like? Equal to a 60-watt light bulb or
Oh, there
something?
you got me. I don't know what its equivalent is because I'm not the technical dude.
Yeah.
I'm the dude with the stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And that isn't a general question that somebody would ask. Does it work or doesn't it work? And for some
That's all they
people, it's
care
going to
about.
work,
Yeah.
and some people, it's not. And like I said, that seasonal affective disorder this year, because of without that snow covering the ground yet, it's been
Yeah.
nice on my back. I have not touched my shovel yet. This is like amazing. Great. I don't have to shovel, but I still feel that feeling like that weight that it's, I'd rather just, what are you having for
So,
supper? Well, I don't know. Another frozen pizza because I don't, I got time to do it. I can surely cook a meal, but I don't want.
yeah.
And that's when you start realizing that there's a little bit of depression involved. If you start feeling that or noticing that things that you normally would like to do, somebody invite, every week you go to bingo, every week you go to this event or that event, and then it's like, oh, I'm not going to go to that. Well, that's a sign that something isn't quite right. And sometimes for people with seasonal affective disorder, if it's pretty heavy on them, seeing a physician is a good idea. You might get a temporary antidepressant, real low dose, to just kind of help you get through so things do get brighter. And you did make a remark about how different it was, and I felt that too. When the sun came out, I watched every sunrise and sunset those days that it was there. I could see the sunrise out my office window. I wait for it. I sometimes it only lasts for about 5 minutes because it's just that amount that the sun peaks between the clouds and the earth, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So I'm up at that time where I get to see that. But when I see that it's beautiful like that, I try to take it in because one thing that we got to realize is we all got a mistake. So what are we
Right.
gonna? How do we get through this funk? One thing that I've noticed too is over the past I've been in, and if you're a news junkie, you'll find that if you listen and actually pay attention the next day, it's almost like a repeat. It's like a soap opera. It doesn't change all that much. So, you're listening to this show and that show, and it's like they keep repeating and repeating the same thing over again. Well, I made some major adjustments with my news. I don't listen as intently. I listen kind of while I'm working until the music comes on, which music is better. But none on my weekends and days off or vacations. Just none. And after I'm done with work, I don't want to hear it. If I've already heard it, I know enough of it. Unless, and if you're a person that's actually involved and taking part and making change, well, then you do have to listen because it's a big part of your life. But for the rest of us, if you're not calling your representatives on a regular basis to complain about what's going on, then maybe you should back off. Sharing all that stuff on social media isn't helping anybody. It really is. So I don't do social media. Well, we still have,
there's sometimes you can't avoid the news because we're in a primary election year, and that's only going to get worse as time goes on. And the more frequency of conversations of the visibility of the parties and people involved as we get closer and closer to November, it's like, geez, I can't wait till we get into December because we'll be past all of this, regardless of who was elected. It's just like there'll be enough for all of us. Then we have, three, 2.5 wars going, but it's kind of all hostile. So it's not going to change after the election. It's not going to change. I mean, the leadership will change. The screaming from the news is going to be the same. Yeah. So what should we do? One thing that I do is a little less TV and a lot more music. Music can take you to a different time, a different place. It's kind of like I played that. I wanted you to play Michael Ferrante's "Brighter Day." Well, a song like that puts you in a good mood. It's like, hey, let's think about the positives. It's so easy to reflect on the negatives because did you see he cut his hair? He sure looks funny, or so and so is gaining weight. So and so, why not say, well, so and so had a nice smile. It's like holding the door open to the person that's coming behind you, and they smile. Yeah, a little gestures, little tiny gestures can make your day better. And then I find sometimes people, man, I'm appreciative. Because if I got my hands full and somebody does that, it's like, thank you. Yeah. Please, thank you. Things that, we take a lot of stuff for granted. We live in a beautiful place, and we don't bother to look out the window and look at what's going on. Or even if the Eagles were almost extinct when you and I were kids, every time I see one, I still mark even seeing the deer. I see deer all the time, but every time I see one, it's like my little connection to nature. Yeah. That wild walking in my backyard, I saw a deer in my backyard. It was like, oh my goodness, we're not in the zoo. These are free animals. And really, enjoying life. So cool to see that. Even squirrels. You ever watch them? Sometimes they make some pretty amazing jumps. Yeah, barely hanging on by one claw, 30, 40 feet in the air. It's pretty cool. So, and then we take those for granted. If you live in the middle of New York City, you don't even see squirrels. Well, you might. You might, yeah. Oh, there might not be giant mice. Oh, yeah. Same family. Yeah. Yeah. But another thing, we got all these. If you're not doing your winter sports and you're maybe a cross country skier, the hiking those trails are now open to hiking. Check that out. There's no mosquitoes. Yeah. And you can go. I like to go to waterfalls. I've visited many of them. I like to go to state parks. I like to maybe just beachcomb on Lake Superior. Just walk to Wisconsin Point or something like that. There's so much out there that I think because it's close by, we once again take it for granted. Do that every day. We'll do that some other time. But another thing that really helps is we're not that far from summer. Spring's on the way. So gardens, are you going to be planting flowers, things like that? Going to the farmer's market. What you're going to do? Are you going to have a vacation? Are you going to be meeting with friends, family, all those kind of things? Thinking about swimming, I like. I'm still looking for the right fishing reel, and I take my time because I cast lures, so my reel has to take a lot of abuse. So I've been shopping for one. So just looking at different reels and trying to make a decision puts me in a different place because that's something that's related to summer.
Yeah.
That's related to happy.
Why do you think I wear the shirts that I wear
Oh,
year round? For almost 10 years, I've worn nothing but WWD. I wear top of the shirt all the time. And,
you wouldn't believe the responses I get from people in the middle of winter. If I go to a store, I always take off my coat and put it on the shopping cart. So I'm
Mhm.
walking around, out there, and people light up when they see me. One, because it's funny to see somebody in the Northwoods in a tropical shirt all the time, but immediately it brings us back to the warm season. It's, and I always tell them, they always say, "Hey, shirt." I said, "Yes, summer's coming. The summer's always coming for me." Now, that might say, "Well, you never get to it." Well, I do get to it because, again, it's an attitude. It's all about attitude. It just helps set me up to say, I'm living in my vacation world, which is really kind of why we moved to Hayward from Minneapolis, is because we always took our vacations up.
Mhm.
And I thought, geez, why not live here and work here, where we play? And I may not play so much in the winter, but like I said, when I get out and I'm wearing my shirt, it lights people up. There is others. Good. I'm glad I'm having a passive effect on people in these scenes. Yes, it's similar to, once again, holding the door open for somebody to get a smile. If it creates a smile, you both smile, and that makes your day better. Makes their day better. So that's something that I think is really something that can change that attitude. If you could change that attitude, maybe you're not doing that right now. Give it a try. It doesn't cost anything. Doesn't cost anything, and the one that's always fun. I still shop at Aldi's. I've mentioned this before. I'll leave the quarter in the cart. Oh yeah, and sometimes people argue and like, "Hey, I want to give you the quarter. Give it to the next person. If you want to give it, that's it. It's like a quarter can transport it. It creates like that little banter between you and a person you've never met before. Yeah. And usually ends in a smile. If you could do a little bit more of that, because we've been divided so much by so many things, we really need something to bring us together. And if it's those little things here and there every day, it's really, yeah. And if if you have, if you're having or experiencing feeling depressed, check it out with your doctor. It's a good idea because really it can lead to more. It can mean that you're calling in sick, and you don't even know what it is. Maybe to get it defined would be helpful too. You
Well, it's been a great conversation about this subject. I know that we just have a couple minutes left. Um, talk about indigo and again what your purpose is in the counties that you represent. What do you do?
Well, what we do is try to help people to live independently so that they're not institutionalized. Somebody that maybe has a disability that, which age becomes a disability oftentimes, um, so that they can navigate their own home, you know, and stay there. So sometimes, we can loan out a light box so somebody could try it.
Oh yeah,
We could loan out different pieces of equipment so that somebody can see if that's going to be the thing that makes it easier for them to get through their day or their week, you know, things like that. We have loan programs for bigger things like accessible vehicles
Okay.
and ramps and things like that that maybe you can't find the funding for. But we do have some low interest loan programs that we can hook people up with. So there's a lot that we can do and way more than I can say in the couple of minutes or the few seconds
You
we
second,
got
yeah,
left.
yeah. Well, Don, thank you so much. And we'll post this information on our YouTube channel and Facebook if people want to see it again. This is WOJB, Reserve Wisconsin, Democracy Now! Coming up